How you doing? We're speaking with Damian Darlington of Brit Floyd. They're going to be at the Linda Ronstadt Music Hall here in Tucson on June 11th. Damian, I've seen the band a couple times over the years. Amazing, amazing show. For those who've never seen Brit Floyd, can you give us a little bit of the history of how you put the project together?
Well, I started playing Pink Floyd in a Pink Floyd tribute band 30 years ago now. I was originally in the Australian Pink Floyd show and I did that for 17 years. And it just came to the point where I thought it was about time that I started my own Pink Floyd show. I wanted to do things a little bit differently, hopefully do a better job of it. And that's happened in 2011. That's when Brit Floyd did its first show. And here we are, what is it, 2024 now, 13 years later, been touring all around the world, a lot of shows around the US and a lot of shows around Europe and places in Japan and South America, etc. And it's gone from strength to strength.
How many people are in your band?
It's a nine piece,
It's a
or
nine-piece
a
band.
nine piece. Yeah, yeah.
Now, I know that you're the guitar player and singer. Are you have multiple singers in the band as well?
Yes, there's a bass player, Ian Cattell, who's a lead vocalist. He principally does the Roger Waters material, although he does do some Gilmore stuff as well. There's also another guitarist that I share the Gilmore guitar duties with, Ido Scordo, who's from Italy, and he also does some lead vocals in a few tracks as well. So between the three of us, we've sort of got all eras of Pink Floyd covered with our voices.
So I was looking at your set list. I mean, you're doing some of the early stuff as well, but this tour is primarily, from what I'm reading, you're doing a tribute basically to the Division Bell. Is it the album in its entirety, or do you kind of sprinkle it in throughout the set list?
It's not the album in its entirety. Yeah, we it's sort of a dual theme to the tour. It's the 30th anniversary of the album coming out, but it's also the 30th anniversary of Pink Floyd's last tour, which later became known as the Pulse Tour. So we're basically playing tracks that they played on that tour, which obviously includes plenty of tracks from the Division Bell album as well, with the exception of one track, which is we thought it was important to put something from the Animals album in there as well. So we're playing a track from that album as well.
How do you go about deciding with a catalog like Pink Floyd's what songs go in there? Obviously, this is the tour, the Pulse tour that you're doing, but in previous tours, and then I know you got another big thing coming up in 2025, which we'll discuss here in a little bit. But how do you decide on the songs and then the musicians in there too? Because you could close your eyes and you think you're listening to Pink Floyd, which I know is the thing there. But how do you put that all
Um,
together?
well, you come up with a theme first. I mean, we've talked about what the theme of this year's tour is, and that's your starting point. Obviously, you've got to play tracks that are relevant to that theme, but also I'm mindful of what we were playing last year and the year before. We'll bring tracks in and out of the set list, and there's certain tracks you're always going to want to play. I mean, people are always they're going to always want to hear Comfortably Numb, Wish You Were Here, Another Brick in the Wall, certain tracks off Dark Side of the Moon, etc. So all those ingredients, you put them together to cook up a set list from year to year, as it were.
How did you get into Pink Floyd? I mean, was it something you discovered as a kid? How did you become? Obviously, you got to be a fan if you're leading Brit Floyd.
I first became aware of Pink Floyd probably when I was about 10 years old, when Another Brick in the Wall was a number one single here in the UK, a very unlikely Christmas number one. Just after the Wall album came out, and that was my first sort of awareness of them. But I wasn't quite ready to sort of get into bands as such at that age, But roll on a couple of years till I was about 12 or 13 years old, and then I was starting to really get more serious about playing the guitar and getting into bands and that. And again, the Wall album was my gateway into Pink Floyd at that point. A friend of mine had the album. He played it for me. I was fascinated by it, fascinated by the cover, the Gerald Scarfe artwork in it, or all the narrative that was running through it, all the cool sound effects, all those sorts of things, and of course the David Gilmour guitar work on there. And that from that moment onwards, I just wanted to discover as much as I could about Pink Floyd, and I went out and got as many of their albums as I could at that age. And then shortly after that, the Final Cut album came out, so that was exciting that a brand new Pink Floyd album came out at that point as well.
Now, when you guys do this, you perform in concert. You're going to be here June 11th at the Linda Ronstadt Music Hall. Um, How do you do the visuals? I mean, do you try to recreate the visuals from the Pulse tour, or are you coming up with all new visuals of the technology we have today?
It's a mixture. It's a mixture of the two things. We have most of the video and animation that we have in our show that's projected on the circular screen, and also on outside of that screen as well is been produced specially for ourselves, and it's referencing lots of iconic Pink Floyd imagery in there, but there's room to do something of our own, explore some other sort of artistic ideas in the imagery as well. And also when it comes to the light show and the lasers, we're obviously looking back at what Pink Floyd did on the Division Bell tour and on the Momentary Lapse Reason tour before that, and indeed on like solo Roger Waters tours or David Gilmour tours, for ideas about what we should do with our lights and lasers as well.
So when you're looking for musicians, are you looking for musicians who like you? I've heard you sound like David in places, and I've seen you guys before, literally closing the eyes. How do you get yourself to the point where you can sound and play like these musicians who, you know, there's a lot of bands out there that you could replace and you would not know, one band sound from another, but Floyd has a very distinctive sound. Was there a lot of practice involved? Is it something that you noticed that you could pull off?
There's about 40 years practice involved in my case. Um, 30 years of it specifically trying to sound like Pink Floyd, and obviously through if you do it that long, and if you apply yourself in the right way, and you have you care about the attention to detail, then it pays off eventually, hopefully, when it comes to recreating Gilmour's guitar work and his vocals. I don't particularly pretend to have a voice that sounds just like David Gilmour, but I certainly make the effort to phrase things and sing it in the correct way, in that the way that David Gilmour would sing things.
So, as far as a lot of the tribute acts out there, that you were part of the Australian Pink Floyd show. What would make the Brit Floyd show different than what Australian Pink Floyd did?
Less kangaroos, for one thing, involved. um, I do, again, I used that phrase a moment ago, the attention to detail. I do sort of think that one thing that certainly sets us apart is that we really do sort of scrutinize every aspect of Pink Floyd, but whether it be the music, the video, the visuals, the lasers, all that kind of thing, and we try to synchronize all of that together as precisely as we can within the show. And we're never sort of complacent about this. We always know there's room for improvement, so we're always trying to improve things wherever it's possible to do so year on year of doing this.
Now, I've noticed in the past you guys have had some special guests that have popped up out of the blue, former members of Pink Floyd. What is their response when they see you guys for the first time? And obviously they want to get up on stage and jam with you. I think you had Guy Pratt at one point and the sax
Yeah.
player, et cetera. What's their response been?
Their response is, it seems to be that they are suitably impressed with what we do, and the how well we recreate the band that they once got to play with, at whatever point in Pink Floyd's live history. So yeah, we've had Guy Pratt get up on stage with us. We've had Scott Page, who's toured with them on the Division Bell tour. We've had Dirk McBroom, who was backing vocalist for the last two Pink Floyd tours, get up with us, and various other people. I've met Dick Parry, the original saxophonist. He's been to a show, and of course, David Gilmour has been to a show in the past. Even got to play at his 50th birthday party and got to play on stage with Rick Wright on that occasion
Oh,
many
wow.
years ago. So yeah, we've come into contact with various people who've been involved with Pink Floyd over the years, and
So,
and also the next generation of, because we've got Harry Waters touring with us on and off at the moment, and he'll be doing some shows with us on this next leg of dates. I've met Matt Gilmore before he's been to a show, one of David Gilmour's sons. So there's a lot of connection with the Pink Floyd family, as it were.
So, we were talking about the 10-year-old you discovering the Wall. You discovered the band much like I did. The Wall was my gateway, and then I went back and discovered all the older stuff. Do you look back at your life now and go, wow, I'm now doing this thing that got me into music and got me into Floyd. And do you pinch yourself sometimes and go, wow, this is cool life.
Yeah, certainly. You know, when you get to play on somewhere like Red Rocks, as many times as I play there now, you get on a stage like that in front of 10,000 people, and you think, yeah, how did this happen? After when you think about all those years ago when you were learning how to play these songs in your bedroom, when you were a teenager. So when I first started learning to play Pink Floyd, tribute bands were just not a thing. Nobody did. I didn't sort of envisage that my sort of musical career would take this direction, but it was an opportunity that came my way, and I'm very happy it did, because it's taken me a lot of places around the world, and I've played a lot of cool venues and met some amazing musicians along the way through doing this.
So if somebody has never seen Brit Floyd before, obviously you're going to be here in Tucson on the 11th of June over the Linda Ronstadt Music Hall. Say they're a completely newbie, they've never seen you, they're only hearing this conversation. What can people expect on June 11th from Brit Floyd?
They can expect 2 hours and 40 minutes of Pink Floyd music, celebrating, as we've mentioned, the Division Bell album. Yeah, but a lot outside of that, they'll get to hear tracks off Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, Medal, even some, something from the Piper at the Gates of Dawn, the Pink Floyd's very first album. They get to hear something from that era of Pink Floyd as well. They'll uh, see a spectacular lighting show, and the iconic Pink Floyd circle, as I mentioned, video throughout the show, synchronized with the music we play. They may even get to see a very large inflatable pig if there's room to bring it out on that stage. And spectacular laser show as well.
So if somebody wants to keep in touch with the band, I presume you guys are on socials, you have a website, etc.
We do. It's britfloyd.com. That is the website, and they can find links to our Facebook, Instagram, X account, all that sort of stuff. And plus, they'll find lots of video and all our tour dates and info about the band as well on the website.
So now is this, the amount you said 2 hours and 40 minutes? Is that what you said?
Yeah, we do a 3 hour show. You have a 20-minute interval, but it's pretty much 2 hours and 40 minutes of music all the way through.
Okay, so basically like a Pink Floyd show where they give you the intermission in the middle, two sets.
Yeah, definitely. That's it. Kind of feels right doing it that way. I mean, Pink Floyd, they're obviously famous for doing quite long tracks in places. So, you need to sort of represent enough of their catalogue of music. You need to do a show that long.
So obviously you're highlighting songs off the Division Bell. You're doing the Pulse tour this time. What's coming up in 2025?
We're going to be celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Wish You Were Here album. Very excited about that, and we will be playing all the tracks from that album in the set list, plus many other tracks as well. For again, we're trying to represent a lot of Pink Floyd's other catalogue as well, alongside that celebration of the Wish You Were Here album.
And I presume this will bring you back to the States again. You guys, I was looking at your tour list. You are all over the world here.
Yeah, certainly. But I mean, we do most of our touring in the US, so we'll definitely be back there. We'll be kicking the tour off next year in the UK, but then once we've finished about 2 weeks of touring here, we'll go straight to the US and probably do something in the region of about 80 or 90 shows around the US and Canada, before we do some more European dates later on in the year.
Well, the nice thing with a band like Pink Floyd with their catalog, there's no shortage of anniversaries and albums to highlight.
Certainly, yeah, yeah. We were obviously it was a big anniversary of the Dark Side of the Moon album last year, and naturally we were celebrating that album. I suppose the next big one is 2027, when they will be celebrating 50 years of the Animals album. So that's the next one on the horizon.
Which, over time has become my favorite album by them. Do you have a favorite Pink Floyd album, one that you particularly enjoy more than the others?
Again, I probably would say The Wall. That was my introduction to Pink Floyd, and it's kind of stayed with me as my favorite Floyd album. But there are very, very close seconds and thirds in there as well, obviously.
I do know the feeling there. Well, thank you so much, Damian. I appreciate you taking time and have a safe flight to the States tomorrow. And we'll see you here on June 11th at the Linda Ronstadt Music Hall.
Well, looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to coming back there and playing.
All right. Thank you so much, Damian.
Thanks a lot. Good to talk to you.